Introducing Instagram Teen Accounts, a new way to keep your teen safer as they grow. Like making sure they always have their seatbelt on.
All right, sweetie pie, buckle up. Good job.
Or ring the bell on their bike.
Okay, kid, give it a try. Nice.
Or remember their elbow pads.
Knees too, okay? Yep. There you go.
New Instagram Teen Accounts. Automatic protections for who can contact your teen and the content they can see.
Running a business is hard work. Building your website shouldn't be. With Wix, you can express your ideas, give direction, then leave the heavy lifting to AI, from site creation to branded content and images. Have fun with the details. Customize what you want the way you want, and manage your whole business from a centralized dashboard with expert AI tools. Build, scale, and enjoy the incredible results. You can do it all yourself on Wix.
Welcome to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Hour 3 of the VSiN Weekend Morning Line. I'm your host, Tim Murray, live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas. Looking over my shoulder. Ooh, lines are picking up. Derby Day, ladies and gentlemen. You know what? I said it to Drew Dinsick earlier in the show. I need to get to the Derby. I've got some FOMO. Never been. You know, I grew up in D.C., never went to the Preakness either. I'll be honest. Never really had much of an interest. For those of you aware, the Preakness infield is a bit of, how would I say, debauchery? Yeah. So never really had much interest to go there. But I do think, seems like the Derby a little classier than my friends over at Pimlico. But today, you know, I think I'm good watching it on television today here in the sunshine of Las Vegas. I think I'm cool with it. So I think that's the route that we'll go. But can't wait to watch it. Obviously, great analysis coming all throughout the day. We're going to play you a clip here from Drew Dinsick here in just a moment. If you missed his appearance live from Pimlico. See what I did myself? From Churchill Downs in just a little bit. But as we look at it, the horse that I'm going to, I have been ultimately decided I'm going to roll with, I'm going to go Sovereignty. So here's a couple reasons why. Smart people are saying it, and that's pretty much the only reason why. Mike Somich just popped in the studio. He's been the busiest man at VSiN this week, doing about a gajillion hits. He will actually be hosting a special Derby show coming up at 4 o'clock Eastern, but don't you worry, he will still be on with Matt Brown, Ready, Set, Bet, as a guest later on here in the afternoon. So plenty of Somich in your life, and leading up to the Derby, he will be on these very airwaves to get you prepared for the Kentucky Derby. But he popped in studio, and he's on Sovereignty. Brittany Urton. I listened back to her interview from Wednesday night here on the program, on VSiN Primetime, and she just continued to circle back to sovereignty. And then Drew Dinsick down at Churchill Downs earlier on the show, this is what he had to say about the current situation in Kentucky regarding the track and the rain and what horses that benefits. So this was Drew Dinsick on the track, and with a sloppy track, who ultimately could that benefit from a betting standpoint?
Your best closer in this field is Sovereignty. So the number one horse you upgrade when you see the weather like this and you think that there's potential for a closer to be a hit the top of the board. Sovereignty is the biggest upgrade of the choices. Second biggest upgrade for me is Final Gambit. He's interesting because he's in the 3-post, and he is the clear slow inside horse, so he can just kind of break at his leisure and potentially even get a rail ride. There may be some rail bias today, as they tend to kind of get the inside of the track worked a little bit harder, which can sometimes make it a little bit firmer, a little bit better footing, and the speed has a better opportunity to manifest on the inside. So Final Gambit positioned really well to make a run. And then unfortunately, the favorite journalism, who is a healthy, kind of plus 240 in the futures pool, He is a very, very good late pace course. So he is the horse to beat. And I'm having a very tough time figuring out who and why anyone's going to beat him. But if anyone does, it's most likely Sovereignty. And then the bigger price to hit the board is likely Final Gambit.
There you go. Some good insight there. I'm sorry. I'm laughing because I'm watching Drew. Drew's been down there at Churchill Downs for the past couple of days doing some great work with NBC, getting some social stuff out there, watching the horses. And I didn't notice it earlier in the show. Drew, we got to get you that sunscreen, brother, because he's got like the glasses look there where it looks like you got a little sunburn underneath there. So a little tan line action there from Drew. But no, I loved his insight there, and I think he's put me over the top on Sovereignty. I was just watching it. They're getting ready for race 3 of the day. Ooh, buddy, it is sloppy out there for the Derby. So we'll see how the weather continues as the day goes on. It was funny thinking back to my chat with Brittany Urton, who will be on the NBC coverage coming up later on today. And she said, and this was Wednesday, I'm hoping that it's not going to be too wet, but I packed my boots, I packed my raincoat, it's going to rain. And yep, she nailed it right now. As of right now, it's raining pretty good. But does that lead to a better opportunity out there for any particular horses? Well, I also wanted to point this out. I thought this was a really good point, and I wrote it down on my notes here as I've got my notes sprawled out over the desk, Paulie Howard style. He said, this is true, and I'm paraphrasing. One thing that he notes is the Oaks Derby double. Where are the sharper bettors betting? Who are they betting in the Oaks Derby double, right? Which is the Kentucky Oaks yesterday and then the Derby today, to pair those two together. And he felt like that's an indicator of who are the horses they're going to be backing from a sharper side, right? We all know, people like me are going to start betting the Derby today and not know much about it. But the folks like Mike Somich and Drew, et cetera, they follow this stuff. And Drew pointed out the 4 horses that were attached to the 4 most popular horses, I should say, attached to the Oaks Derby double. Number 1 was Journalism. Number 2 was Sovereignty. Number 3 was Sandman. And then number 4 was Beza, the 21 horse. And I heard Chris Felica on his podcast earlier this week talk about if there is a scratch, that Beza was going to be a horse that he was going to look to back. Now, I don't know if that is still true. Maybe I'll send Chris a text here in just a little bit. But I remember him mentioning that when that horse came in, that would be one that he would look to back, and the odds would reflect that, right? The morning line odds today were down at 12-1, so we'll see. Much more on the Derby. Chuck Esposito is going to join us coming up at the bottom of the hour, so we'll get the thoughts from Chuck, what they've been seeing at their pari-mutuel book here in town. Who does he like in the Derby today? But we're going to talk with Steve Levy from ESPN. We're going to get some thoughts on Game 7 tonight between the Colorado Avalanche and the Denver Nuggets. Look, trends could be your friend. I just said Colorado Avalanche and the Denver Nuggets. They are not playing each other. That would be hard to do. The Colorado Avalanche are playing the Dallas Stars. The Denver Nuggets are playing the Clippers. Nuggets on the mind because trends can be a friend, but also they could be a little too popular. So let's tell you the trend for Game 7, Game 7s in the NBA. Game 7s historically have been lower scoring. Unders in Game 7s in NBA and throughout the NBA playoffs, 43-26 to the under. That's 62.3% cash rate. Over the since 2018, so what is that? 7 years? Unders 14-5. That's a 73.7% clip and going under by almost 9 points per game. So certainly that could be the case tonight and tomorrow. Things do tend to tighten up, right, in these final games. Rotations are going to get shorter. You're going to get more defensive intensity, all of that. But as we know, those guys right there, they're not dumb, right? They know these trends too. So I'm not saying don't play it under, but don't blindly bet an under. And the market, once again, I know I've come back to this a bunch, but I just want to continue to reiterate the point. Look, the folks shaping the market, they're telling you right now that this thing probably went a little bit too low. So let's look at tonight. Clippers-Denver, game 1 of this series, 112-110 in overtime. The total for that game was 224.5. The first 4 games of this series all went under. We saw an adjustment of the total of about 2 touchdowns. 224.5 in game 1. Game 5 was 210. And that's when we finally saw an over come home. 113-115 was the final score in that one. As, remember, that was the Denver went to their, game 5, that was Jamal Murray. I'm getting series mixed up. Jamal Murray went off, right, in that one. Game 6, we saw, all right, bounce back total-wise, 213. Another under, 111-106, the final score. One other over. So overs have gone over 2 in a row here. But the market adjusted from a 213 close in Game 6 to where we sit right now at 207. And this thing got as low as 204.5. So that was clearly the point of resistance. All right, we're going to get the over money coming in here. Clippers-Nuggets, game 1 was 224.5. Right now, market sits at 207. At one point in time, was 20 points off of the game 1 number. You're paying the tax of the under trend in game 7. Looking ahead to tomorrow real quickly. This thing got as low as 201. What happened this morning? 204 now. Over money hitting the market. Houston Golden State, game 1 was 213. Game 7 was sitting at 201. So once again, 14-5 to the under since 2018. 23% cash rate. Books are adjusting, right? Books are no dummies when it comes to that. Steve Levy going to join us on the other side of the break. Hey, just a reminder, look at this package. $400 all-in price to stay here at Circa. 2-night stay, $100 dining credit, $100 beverage credit, your very own day bed, $400 resorts fees and taxes included. Head on over to circalasvegas.com for all the details.
You set the gold standard for your business. Your website should do the same. Wix puts you at the helm, so you can enjoy the creative freedom of designing your site just the way you want. Want someone to bounce your ideas off? Talk with AI to create a beautiful site together. Generate on-brand content, images, media, and simply change or fine-tune any of it along the way. Whatever your business, manage it from one place and tie it all together with a personalized domain name. Gear up for success with a brand that says you best. You can do it yourself on Wix.
Are your ulcerative colitis symptoms proving difficult to manage? Tremfya guselkumab can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. At 1 year, many patients taking Tremfya achieved clinical remission, and some patients also achieved endoscopic remission. Individual results may vary. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Ask your doctor if Tremfya can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more, or visit tremfyaradio.com.
Tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
What a day. We have the Derby later on this afternoon, and then a Game 7 in Denver between the Nuggets and the Clippers, and a Game 7 in Dallas between the Avs and the Stars. You can watch that game on ABC, primetime spot. And when you think ESPN and hockey, you think Steve Levy. and he joins us right now courtesy of our Progressive guest line. Steve will be in studio tonight giving you intermission, pregame, postgame, all you could ask for as we get Game 7 between the Avs and the Stars. And I'm sure something that you guys will talk about, Steve, is the success that Pete DeBoer has had in Game 7s. 8-0 all-time for DeBoer in Game 7. So I got to imagine when you look at that stat, Avs fans probably not too thrilled to head into a Game 7 tonight in Dallas.
That's such a weird number, Tim, right? If it's a 2 or 3 game sample and, he's 2-0 or 3-0, okay, that could be fluky, that could be coincidence, but, not 8-0. I mean, that's really, there's got to be something there. There's got to be something with his tactics or his strategy or his demeanor that gives him the ultimate confidence. And, who knows what's going on down at the other bench. But so, the Dallas bench, the Dallas dressing room, they are on home ice. And for the first time in a long time, home ice seems to mean something in these Stanley Cup playoffs. It's really been, you look at recent memory, it's really been 500, And but this year, the home team's had a decided edge so far. And you couple DeBoer's record, I think you have to like Dallas tonight.
Yeah, and right now the Dallas Stars are the underdog against the Colorado Avalanche. How would you kind of put your finger on the pulse of this series? How would you define this series? Because, we've talked a lot about Clippers-Nuggets today, Steve, and the thought process is Clippers probably should have wrapped this thing up a couple, games ago, and now they have to play a Game 7 on the road. How would you look at this? Because Colorado dominates Game 1, and then since then it's kind of been this, pull, back and forth here. So Colorado gets that important Game 6 win. How would you classify or clarify this series through 6 games?
Well, to me, this was the series of the 8 first-round Stanley Cup playoff matchups. This was my favorite series going in. Now, it lost some luster because Dallas is without their best defenseman in Miro Heiskanen. And again, there's talking. Maybe he comes back tonight. I don't know. And they're without their top goal scorer, in Jason Robertson. He's skating. He's said to be day-to-day as well. You never know in the NHL with that kind of stuff. But so this great matchup really lost some luster, I think, because Dallas was without 2 of their superstars. And they think, all right, how can they possibly hang around? And so that hasn't happened. I mean, the Stars have been tough. They played it so strong. Win or lose, I'm really impressed with the Dallas Stars and the way they've handled this whole series. And quite frankly, whereas Dallas has not been without their top guys, it doesn't look like Colorado's superstars have played up to their level we expected. Now, maybe we expect too much from Cale Makar, but he hasn't been Bobby Orr this round, and we expect him to be now. He's reached that level as the clear-cut best defenseman in hockey. And he just hasn't jumped up. And McKinnon has, his numbers are pretty good, I think, in the series, but he has not looked like his usual self. So let's credit Dallas there. Dallas doing a good job on those 2 superstars. In the end, it's been a very even series, and we get what we deserve here tonight with the Game 7. How about if you're a Colorado fan, right? You got the Avs and Nuggets tonight. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'll say this, Steve. There's a, I am a YouTube TV guy, so you could split the screens, or let's be honest. I mean, TVs cost like $100. Go to Best Buy if you don't have 2 TVs. Go get yourself a second screen if you're up there in the Denver area. Good time and bad time, I guess, to be a Denver sports fan. That'd be rough watching tonight. Oh yeah. There's gonna be a lot of angst, no doubt, up there in the Mile High City. Steve Levy joining us right now, courtesy of our Progressive guest line. You can catch Steve on the telecast tonight. He'll be in the studio for the ABC coverage of Game 7 of Avs and Stars. And as we look at Heiskanen and Robertson, I believe, are out on the ice for optional skate. They've both been ruled out for tonight. But I got to ask you, Steve, if the Stars win tonight, and you kind of indicated, home ice has been so beneficial this year so far in the postseason. If the Stars were to win tonight, how live do they become with Robertson and Heiskanen potentially being back for the second round?
Well, I'll just tell you this. They were my pick to win the Stanley Cup. Before the injuries, Robertson got hurt in the final regular season game And Heiskanen has been out, since Four Nations or right before Four Nations, and was, hoped to come back at some point in the playoffs. So factoring those things in, I had Dallas to win the Stanley Cup. So that tells you how live I think they are, and that's with expecting Robertson to be back and Heiskanen at some point. So, you never think it gets easier in the second round, right? You think the first opponent should be the easiest, then second. It gets harder as it goes along. And Mark Messier, who knows something about these things, I'll be sitting down. He's always said the first round can be the most difficult round, which is really interesting to hear, right? But I think if Dallas could get past Colorado with the potential to get healthier, and they've got the goaltender, then you really have them, I think, as the favorite in the West.
Steve, we saw Game 6 just be high-flying, 7-4, a couple empty netters right late in that one. But that first period was just wild, just the amount of goals flying around there. So when you look at this game here, something that, from a betting standpoint, a lot of us look at is, all right, things tightened up, right? First period under 1.5 goals. What are you expecting out of the gates here? Do we expect high flying, or is this thing a little bit closer to the vest and we see the goalie step up here in the early going?
Listen, I would lean towards closer, tighter, lower scoring. And, listen, I'm wrong most of the time. Okay? But I would think, this is, everybody says they want to be aggressive, but I think the truth is there's a fear of making a mistake, which explains why you might at least start cautious. I don't dabble in what you're talking about, but I'd be surprised if goal and a half in the first period. Is that what you said?
Yeah, goal and a half in the first period. Yep.
Yeah, listen, I would not be surprised if it was a scoreless first period too. So I think everybody's tight. I think the goaltending has been good. Ottinger gets the edge for me in goal, though, if you just look at the two guys.
Well, when the first period is over, it's scoreless, and I'm watching on ABC. Just give us a little wink. Be like, yeah, see, you told it would be low scoring.
I'll do that for you, Tim. When I do that for you, you'll know it's for you, okay?
Hey, Steve, before I let you run, appreciate the time as always. Once again, Steve Levy, catch him tonight in the studio for ABC's coverage of Colorado and Dallas. We got a Game 7 tomorrow as well, and, the playoffs are wild, man. The Vezina Trophy winner a year ago. I was texting with a couple hockey buddies today. He seems to be a lock to win it again this year. But what is going on with Connor Hellebuck? Can he find his form tomorrow night with Winnipeg back on home ice? For the first time since 1977, they'll be hosting a Game 7.
Tim, forget the Vezina. He's a finalist for the Hart, which is the MVP of the entire league. Goalies don't win the Hart Trophy, and he's a finalist, and I don't know what's going on. How can you be pulled in 3 of the 6 games? I have no idea. Here's another series where it's been all about home ice, right? And not close home ice games. The home team has been pretty dominant in the home games, like St. Louis was last night. So I have no idea what we're going to see. The fascinating piece of this to me is if Winnipeg does lose Game 7 on home ice, what the hell do they do in the offseason? What the hell do they do next season? That's a President's Trophy, and I think they might have been number 2 in the regular season last year, and they get flamed out in the first round again. I don't know what to do there. It shows you that the NHL really is 2 very separate seasons, and but it's fun to watch. It's theater, it's drama. And I have absolutely no idea what will happen tomorrow night in Winnipeg. And I'm glad it's not our game. I'll be home watching on TV like everybody else.
We'll be watching you tonight. You'll be in studio there on ABC, 8 o'clock puck drop down in Dallas, Colorado, and the Stars. Appreciate it, Steve, and have a great call tonight.
All right, thanks, Tim. Send my best to Wando, too, will you?
Will do, yes. Our producer, okay. Wando, setting it up for us there. Steve Levy, much appreciate him jumping on there, giving us his thoughts. And I'm looking for that wink when it's scoreless after that first period. Hey, just a reminder, we've been talking about it all day. We'll continue our Derby coverage coming up bottom of the hour with Chuck Esposito, race and sportsbook director of the Stations Casino, or the Red Rock Casino here in town. So whether you're placing your first bet or you've been playing the ponies for a year, VSiN's Kentucky Derby betting guide, folks, has everything everything you need to get ahead on Derby Day. Inside the guide, you'll find a clear breakdown of how to bet on horse racing. Great for beginners. This guide is yours with a VSiN Pro subscription. You can become a VSiN Pro subscriber for as little as $9.99 for your first 30 days. VSiN.com/subscribe. VSiN.com/subscribe. We go behind the counter with Chuck Esposito next.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
Oh, man, I am fired up for today. Kentucky Derby coming up in a little bit. I guess more than a little bit. Later on this afternoon, I've got the app ready to go. And we've got 2 Game 7s to discuss as well. So always the perfect time to get the latest from Chuck Esposito. And, before Chuck joins us, we like to make it a little pretty. So can we hit the behind-the-counter graphic here?
Where are the lines changing? And where's the money going? Let's go behind the counter.
Isn't that nice? Makes it a little cleaner. Makes it look sharp. And a man who's sharp is our next guest, Chuck Esposito, who joins us right now, courtesy of our progressive guest line. Chuck, I've been in this town for almost 5 years, and one thing that I've picked up on from the veteran odds makers out there, most of them like the ponies. So I have not asked you where you stand on the pony game. Where are you on the Kentucky Derby? Do we have some boxes ready to fill out there? What are you firing in on?
Oh yeah, I'm a huge race fan. I mean, I love big race days, of course. My family, we always vacation in San Diego once a year, and we make it a habit to go to Del Mar when we're out there. Everybody loves the track and has fun, but I kind of like right now Tistastic out of the 14 hole. I think Citizen Bull is getting a lot of love at the 1. I know everybody seems to love Journalism, the 8, kind of an overwhelming favorite. I think when you look at the 16 Cole Battle, maybe some value there, and the 13 Publisher, maybe some value there. So I'm looking at a few longer shots, and that's Tistastic, Cole Battle, and one other horse that I said, I think it was Publisher. So looking for some longer shots to maybe hit the board today at Churchill.
So how do you guys do it over at stations? Because I know there are some shops here in town that will have fixed odds, but if you're at Kentucky Derby, or maybe you're using the First Bet app, whatever it may be, it's pari-mutuel. So for you guys, is it a pari-mutuel pool, or are you guys going to take some stances with some fixed odds?
It's a pari-mutuel pool, Tim. It's but we're offering a lot of other stuff. We are doing a $20,000 Twin Q today, which is it's aggregate payout. So if there's multiple winners, they would split the prize. But there's been several years over the last, I think, 5 or 6 years that we've had a single winner that won the entire pool. And we're also giving away, when you talk about Sharp earlier, these cool official Kentucky Derby T-shirts at all of our properties, kind of different colors throughout the network, but really cool T-shirts. You make a $25 race wager, you get an official Derby T-shirt, and I just walked around the room, and I think about 60% of the room already has their T-shirts on, and they're wearing them and having fun, and we're going to have mint julep carts in the book. If you can't be at Churchill with all of our big screens, there's no better place to be than in one of our books, including our new book, Center Strip at the Treasure Island.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm looking over my shoulder right now. I think I'd rather be in one of your sports books, because that looks sloppy. That looks a little gross down there in Kentucky. All right, so to recap for you, give us some numbers you're throwing out there, and how do you build it? Like, what is the Chuck Esposito way of betting the Derby? How do you have, how many boxes? Just lay it on us how you normally go about attacking the Kentucky Derby.
It's this really cool dartboard that I have in my office. just kidding. I'm usually staying away from the chalk. I'm just kind of looking at where these horses have come from, their buyer score. I mean, how I think they're going to run in these conditions, and I mean, it's you try to be as educated as you can. And I listen to people that really follow it too and know it, and then I'm forming my own opinion. And I kind of like, as I said, I like the 1 Citizen Bull. The 8 Journalism, I am putting the chalk in there as well. The 13 Publisher, the 16 Cole Battle, and then I like also, as I said, Tistastic, the 14. Hard for me to like, that Sandman, although I liked it earlier, lower odds, but he's in the 17 hole. No horse has ever won out of the 17 hole. So I'm going 1, 8, 13, 16, 18 is who I'm kind of leaning towards right now. But that's what makes it so great. The conditions are crazy. There's, 20 horses or 19 horses on the field. Anything can happen. So it is really the most exciting 2 minutes in all sports.
Chuck Esposito joining us here, courtesy of our Progressive Guest Line. And, it's funny. The thing that I've grabbed so far from the analysis that we've had on VSiN and I've read throughout the week is journalism, rightful favorite. And Sandman, as you alluded to, Sandman kind of seems to be one of the horses atop that people are looking to go against or not have on their card. So we'll see how it all plays out. For Chuck, the numbers that he's interested to throw in there, the 1, the 8, the 13, the 14, and the 16. All right, Chuck, let's get to, we got a little Game 7 action. We just had Steve Levy on, giving us his thoughts on the Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars. So what have you seen so far from an Avalanche Stars action standpoint? I've got the app pulled up right now. You've got Avs minus $1.65 total, down to 5.5. So you're paying that tax, right, for the Game 7 under. What have you seen so far from behind the counter on Avs Stars Game 7?
All I can say, Tim, is I really hope the Stars align tonight because that's who we're going to be rooting for. This game opened up the Avalanche minus $1.35. It's climbed all the way up to 65. All I can say is when you watch the Western Conference games, just bet the over. I mean, you look at the last couple of games. You look at the game last night. You look at the game between the series between the Oilers and the Kings, and then that last Avs Stars game. Before I could even really watch, I think there was 7 or 8 goals scored in both games. So there's been a lot of goals scored, especially out west. But we are clearly Stars fans tonight in Game 7.
You might say there was an avalanche of money on Colorado?
Yeah, I like it. You're following up my Stars little line tonight with an avalanche of money. Yep, I do like that a lot. I think that's kind of cool. And then one other thing to think about tonight is, we really might be rooting for both the Colorado Avalanche and the Denver Nuggets, it looks like, when that game tips off. So a Rocky Mountain parlay tonight for our side of the counter might be just about perfect.
All right, so let's get to it. Clippers and Nuggets right now. You guys have Nuggets minus 1.5, minus $1.30 on the money line. Total 207.5. So early Clipper money for you guys behind the counter?
Just a little bit so far. Nothing big. We have seen the total go up, though. I know we talked about this last week, that this series, it was a lower scoring game, but the totals have been bet up. We opened this total 205.5. It's at its very highest right now at 207.5, and I've even seen some higher numbers out there industry-wide. So looks like right now I think we're going to be Nugget fans at tip-off and rooting for the under tonight.
So let me ask you this, Chuck, because we've been talking about it really throughout the show. And, when you hear these trends, you always get a little bit worried as a bettor, right? Are you too late to gravitate or grab the trend, right? So what continues to pop up is Game 7 unders, 14-5 since 2018. You're seeing the tax. I mean, I don't know where you guys closed, but Game 1 of this Denver Clippers series was 224.5, and now you're at 207.5. So how do you as an odds maker put up a number knowing that there is going to be that Game 7 tightness? Do you have to go against your typical number? Because I imagine the number that you guys or your risk room had probably wasn't 205.5 on this.
No, it wasn't. But I think when you look at these two teams, and we're trying to put up a number, and I know this is stuff that you and I have talked about through football season and throughout the year, that we think will draw good two-way action, not trying to be over-opinionated in it. I mean, we'll look at that sometimes and factor that in a bit, but we want to put up a good two-way number. And we thought the 205.5 was the 205, but our guest quickly told us that no, it's not, even though we thought initially, when we kind of talked about this, I thought the total would be higher, but that looked like that was the consensus number. We put it up, and again, we let our guests kind of tell us that number was just too low to start with. But, hey, it's much different in this series. In a Game 7, these two teams have been one of the lowest totals in all of the NBA playoffs. So maybe you get kind of that tighter game, and it does stay under. But it looks like we're going to be Nugget and under fans tonight when this game tips.
All right, Chuck, before I let you run, curious how joyous it was earlier this week with the Lakers getting eliminated. For those who don't know, this is a Lakers town. Stations is a local shop. So seeing the Lakers get knocked out, while maybe you wanted the business later in the rounds, I got to imagine that was a good result.
It was. I hate to say it, but, we're huge night fans from the fan side of it. And like you said, we love the business. We get huge crowds in here. But they're the one team we have serious liability on in the NHL. So we don't have a pro basketball team. They all seem to gravitate toward the Lakers. So for our side, having Minnesota win like that, especially winning outright that last game, was a huge win for our side of the counter.
He is Chuck Esposito, Race and Sportsbook Director at the Red Rock Casino. 1, 8, 13, 14, and 16 is what he's going to be throwing out there for the Derby today. Chuck, always appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Tim. I'll talk to you soon.
There he is. Chuck Esposito. Always appreciate his insight from behind the counter. Speaking of the Derby, it's here, ladies and gentlemen. Why not make your first bet your best bet? With First Bet, you can wager on Churchill Downs, Belmont Park, and tracks around the world, all from your phone. Go to firstbet.com. That's the number 1, stbet.com. Enter promo code VSiN200 for a $200 sign-up bonus. Don't miss out. Bet smarter on the Derby with firstbet.com.
What's the difference between DIY and doing it yourself? It's the difference between a part-time passion and a full-time business. Wix gives you the power to turn your passion into a moneymaker. With a website that fits your unique vision and the business tools you need to succeed. Let your ideas flow with AI that guides you, but keeps you in the driver's seat. Manage your business from one dashboard and keep it growing with built-in marketing features. It's time to turn your daydream into your dream job. Do it yourself. Go to Wix.com.
Llegó Black Friday en primavera de Home Depot. ¿En qué estás trabajando? Con 14 días de ofertas en The Home Depot, encuentra muchísimos ahorros en el centro de jardinería. Como la compra especial, 5 bolsas de mulch Scott's Earth Grow por solo $10. Crece un césped más sano, evita las malas hierbas y embellece tu jardín con mulch que mantiene su color por hasta 12 meses. Aprovecha hoy los 14 días de ofertas de Black Friday en primavera hasta el 16 de abril en The Home Depot.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
You know what I didn't even think about when we talked about the Riley Green performance in the 9th inning last night, as he hit 2 home runs, first player in MLB history to hit 2 homers in the 9th inning, is if you had under last night, man, that's a tough one to swallow. Tigers and Angels. I guess you were not feeling great because it was 1-1 going into the 9th, and you thought, all right, well, extra innings, and you never know what's going to happen in extra innings. But you had a Skubal start. He goes 6 innings. He strikes out 8, gives up 1 run. Soriano goes 6 scoreless for the Angels, and then the bullpen just completely implodes, and they give up 8 runs in the 9th inning. So I don't know why it didn't dawn on me. I just wanted to discuss the Riley Green multiple home runs in the 9th inning. But, man, under 7.5, I think there were some 8s out there, doesn't get home in a game that was 1-1 going into the 9th. And it didn't go to extra innings. I think that's the thing. If it went to extra innings, they're like, well, ghost runner, all that nonsense, you could be in trouble. Whew, that's a tough one. 1-1 going into the 9th. You've got an under 8 or 7.5 ticket, and it doesn't get there in 9 innings. 8 runs scored in the 9th from the Tigers yesterday. A full slate of baseball about to get underway. First game on the docket is going to be Tampa Bay and the New York Yankees at Yankee Stadium. So a full slate of baseball ahead for you today, and obviously we will be keeping you up to date on all of the baseball action, in addition to a Game 7 in the NBA, a Game 7 on the ice, and the Kentucky Derby. I was talking about the Derby and how I want to get there one day. I think I've been to Churchill Downs, but I have never been to the Derby. I've driven around Louisville before, so I think we stopped by there. Me and my dad and my brother at some point probably saw Churchill Downs, but not at its glory like it is today with the 151st running of the Kentucky Derby. But I brought up the Preakness. Growing up in the D.C. area, it was kind of a rite of passage to go party in the Preakness infield. I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm good. I'm not going to do it. Now, my guy Dub Sports Win on Twitter has let me know, at one Tim Murray, Timmy, the stigma attached to the Preakness, I get it. However, I live about 30 minutes away and have gone 10-plus times and have always had a great time. Never a problem. I'll make you a deal. Go 1 year, and if you truly don't have a great time, I'll pay for your ticket. All right. I guess I need to get there. Now, I live in Vegas now, so makes it a little bit more challenging, even though I go back to the East Coast every year to go to the beach. Maybe I'll have to figure it out. Maybe I'll take you up on it. But I also said, well, I was talking about the infield, not, getting a seat in, the normal grandstands there. He said, no, it's the infield. He said, I've watched it grow through the years in terms of entertainment and events going on in the infield. 4 instances a few years back. They had a tournament, beach volleyball going on, betting windows everywhere, and 2 stages of bands. All right, you're selling me on it. The debauchery that is the Preakness infield. You're always told don't judge a book by its cover. And I'm judging this book by its cover. So I appreciate Dub Sports Win on Twitter letting me know, hey, check it out. I think you'll enjoy yourself. So I will, I can't make any promises. I'll be honest. I'll sit here and be like, yeah, I'll do it. It's a long flight to Baltimore. I usually go back in like July, so I go to the beach. But let's get some winners today. How about that? Drew Dinsick was on the show earlier today. Mike Somich, by the way, going to be a guest on Ready, Set, Bet. He will have a special coming up at 4 o'clock Eastern today, leading you up to the Derby coverage. So you're going to make sure to want to be locked into VSiN all day long as we prepare you for the Kentucky Derby, as Matt Brown will be coming up next. But Mike Somich scheduled to stop by for a guest hit on his normal program. I believe the Moose, Mark Malusis, will be riding co-pilot with Matt Brown here in just a little bit. So Sovereignty, the 18, that's the horse I think I'm going to hitch my wagon to. However, it is worth noting, our guy Chuck Esposito, of the 5 horses he threw out there, Sovereignty was not one of them. He did the 1, the 8, which is Journalism. Journalism is the favorite, so he's going to throw Journalism into some of his bets there. The 13, the 14, and the 16 were the horses that interested Chuck Esposito there. So that is the way he's looking for it. Drew Dinsick, to reiterate, the 8 and the 18 for him on top are the ways he's looking. And then we played you the clip. Couple of longer bombs that he's looking to add from the lower parts to try to make it a little bit more of a juicy return of investment there. But should be a fun day. A lot of insight coming. By the way, check it out. VSiN.com is where to get your latest info on the Derby. I'll be back tomorrow, folks, at 10 a.m. Eastern. So we'll have 2 Game 7s tomorrow as well. Winnipeg and St. Louis and Golden State and Houston. So more in-depth breakdown of those 2 games tomorrow. But worth noting from Golden State and a Houston standpoint, JVT is in on the Houston Rockets in that spot. He thinks it is going to be, he just kind of believes it's maybe run its course there. Golden State up 3-1. It felt like to me the Game 5 was kind of reminiscent of the whoop that trick game when Golden State went down the year they ultimately won the title down to Memphis. Draymond Green and Klay Thompson and Steph Curry are all yucking it up on the sideline as they got drubbed by the Memphis Grizzlies. They responded with a Game 6 win. Unfortunately, for the Golden State Warriors, they did not respond with a Game 6 win yesterday. They lose. They got Fred Van Vleeted, as Van Vliet had 6 threes in that victory. He's been phenomenal. How about these numbers for Fred Van Vliet during this series from long range, as Van Vliet He is 7 of 13 from the field, 29 points last night. 8 of 13 from the field in Game 5, 4 threes in that one. And then he hit 8 threes in Game 4 in the losing effort. So Fred VanVleet is on fire, and Draymond Green, who we played the clip for you earlier in the show, said he's not surprised to see what we've been seeing from Fred VanVleet. He felt like the reason they lost, well, I mean, he said this. Also, Kawhi Leonard probably has something to do with the reason that they lost. Also, Kevin Durant being hurt also, too. But the reason they lost in 2019 was because of Fred VanVleet. Ty Lue, by the way, as we've got a couple of undefeated Game 7 coaches. Pete DeBoer, 8-0, the head coach of the Dallas Stars in Game 7s. And Ty Lue, 4-0. And OptaStats points out the only coach in NBA history with at least that many Game 7 wins without a loss. Take a guess. Red Auerbach, 8-0, was how he started from a Game 7 standpoint. So we'll talk more about that tomorrow. But as for the games tonight, Nuggets and Clippers. I'm a little worried about our guy, JVT. I think the Clippers are the better team. I think it's showed out. But they should have also wrapped this series up by now. Now, it is worth noting that Nikola Jokic and company did lose last year, right, in Game 7 on their home floor. So it's not like they are an unbeatable force at home. From a betting standpoint, look, I have a pre-series position on the Clippers. I am not looking to get off of it yet. Look at the point spread. Look at how this series has played out. I do believe there are going to be opportunities in this series to get, or in this game tonight, to get one of these teams at a much better price. And I feel like that's the way I've been looking at a lot of these games when they have these short spreads. Look, the Nuggets come out, or the Clippers come out, they're up 7-0, timeout Denver. You're getting Denver plus money, right? Denver comes out, they go up 7-0, you're getting Clippers plus 3.5. So I think let's wait a little bit. Let's see how this one plays out. We have seen a little bit of over money come into the market here, and it was interesting to hear from Chuck Esposito that he thinks as of now they're going to be cheering probably for the under. As for a best bet for me tonight, let's go first period under. Let's keep this thing tight in the first period between the Avs and the Stars. 11 goals in Game 6, so why wouldn't your boy want to go first period under? Minus 20 is out there. Todd Furman on the show said that would probably be the most he would be willing to lay. So we'll go first period under in the Avs and Stars. Let's get a little sweat, and then hopefully we're back tomorrow and we're happy with an Avs win and a Clippers win from some pre-series bets. All right, that's going to do it for the show. Hope everyone enjoys the Derby. We've got Matt Brown and Mark Malusis coming up next with Ready, Set, Bet, and then a special VSiN at the track hosted by Mike Somich starting at 4 p.m. Eastern to get you ready for the Kentucky Derby. Thanks to everyone who joined the program today. Thanks to my producer, Wando. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes. I'm Tim Murray. Back with you tomorrow, 10 a.m. right here on the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
No offense, but your brain is a terrible place to keep your big idea. It belongs in the world, but you know that already. You have a calling, a voice that says, this is what I'm meant to do. Create the website your big idea deserves with Wix. Make it your own with top-to-bottom customization, AI to help realize your vision, and built-in business tools to turn your daydream into your dream job. Wix supports every stage of the business journey except one. Your decision to begin. Ready? Go to Wix.com.
Ahora mismo en The Home Depot puedes encontrar ofertas de primavera por menos de $20. ¿Y tú, en qué estás trabajando? Si estás pensando en organizar una carnita asada, esta es tu señal para ir a The Home Depot y aprovechar las ofertas en carbón y accesorios para asador. Como 2 bolsas de carbón Kingsford de 16 libras, ahora en compra especial por solo $17.88. Tus asados saben aún mejor con las ofertas de primavera por menos de $20 en The Home Depot. Válido del 24 de abril al 7 de mayo, sujeto a disponibilidad, válido solo para artículos seleccionados.